common sense property, okay? If you multiply two things together and the answer is 0, what do you know about one of those two things that you just multiplied? One of them must be 0. Yeah, it's common sense property. It's called zero product property. So if two numbers multiply to 0, one or both of them must be equal to 0. Okay? The zero product property says if AB equals 0, which means if A times B is 0, then A equals 0 or B equals 0. Okay, so how does that relate to what we're doing? Well, we've been doing factoring, which is writing multiplication, okay? So, like in this equation, x minus 2 times x plus 5, if that equals 0, the two factors, so factors as a noun is a piece of the multiplication. The two factors are, in this problem, x minus 2, on the other one is x plus 5, okay? Those are the two factors in that problem. And we know from the zero product property that one or both of them must be 0. Okay, so we use that to solve. This means we can split the equation up into two separate equations. Okay? So right here is this is kind of a little diagram showing what we mean, and off to the side here we see it tells us what to do. If I have two factors multiplied equals 0, I'm going to set each factor equal to 0. So that means I'm going to say, okay, so either x minus 2 equals 0 or x plus 5 equals 0. Because if the factors multiply to 0, that means one or both of these must be equal to 0. Now you have itty bitty baby equations to solve, right? Remember the good old days when equations were this easy? Those good old days are way in the past. Okay, so if I want to solve x minus 2 equals 0, what do I got to do to both sides?
Add 2.
Add 2. That's it. 0 plus 2 is 2. So what are my answers? Is x equals 2. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to solve this little baby equation. To solve for x, to get x by itself, I would just minus 5, right? So I have 0 minus 5. What is 0 minus 5?
Negative 5.
Negative 5. Okay, so those are my two answers. And since I'm solving an equation, what I do is I put those in a solution set. So in the solution set, I'm going to write these two numbers. The order does not make a difference. I could have put negative 5 first, okay? But those are the answers that make it true. Because if x is 2, then 2 minus 2 up here is 0, right? And if x is negative 5, then negative 5 plus 5 is 0. That will make it true. Okay. Y'all with me so far? Okay, now, the only thing is we got to make sure we're looking at equations like this, right? This whole thing only works if you have factors. So what do you do if it's not factored? Well, you factor it. That's why we spent like a week on factoring, right? Okay, so if you solve a quadratic equation by factoring, make sure the equation is set equal to 0. So you have to have everything on one side and 0 on the other side. If it isn't, move everything over to one side to fix it. So let's look at example 1. Okay, I don't see equals 0, do you? No, but we can make it, right? All we got to do, minus 14. So let's see what we got. Minus 14. So we got x squared minus 5x minus 14 equals 0. I couldn't take 14 away from 5x because they're not like terms, right? We can only add and subtract from like terms. Everyone okay with how we got this guy right here?
Mhm.
All right. All right, now we factor it. Remember, factor is a verb, write as multiplication, okay? So those of us who understand that this one's basic and you can do the fast factoring, great. If not, we can draw a box and we can put, well, first we would check for a greatest common factor, right? And there isn't one. We know that x squared goes up there, negative 14 goes down there, and we got to figure out what goes in here. All right, well, what is my a times c? What is my a times c? My a times c is negative 14. So I need numbers that multiply to negative 14, but add up to negative 5. Anyone know what those are?
-7, +2.
-7, +2. Okay, I'm not getting Desmos out and making a table. That's a strategy if we still need to do that we're going to do that, but that is not the mountain anymore, right? The mountain is solving, so I'm not going to do that. Okay. Whoops, I already have x there. Okay, now that x goes there and x goes here. X times what makes -7x? -7 plus 2 here. So these make our factors. So our factors are x minus 7 times x plus 2 equals 0. Okay? You can't forget the equals 0 because this is now an equation that I can solve. If I don't have an equal sign, then I don't have an equation. Okay? All right, now I can set each factor equal to 0 and solve separately. So now I'm going to say, all right, now x minus 7 equals 0. And I'm going to say x plus 2 equals 0. And I'm going to get 2 answers out of that. Add 7. My first answer is x is 7. And my other one, what's 0 minus 2?
-2.
-2. Are you noticing? Oh, the answers are just the opposite signs of the factors. Anyone noticing that?
Mhm.
Yeah, it is. Yes. Can you notice that and use it as a shortcut? Yeah, you can. But only if you really understand it. Don't use a shortcut if you don't understand it. Okay, so now we're going to put these in solution set 7 and -2. Okay. Okay, now I kind of want example 2 over here to be different. So if you don't mind, I'm going to cross this out and I'm going to change the problem. Okay, because this one's a little too much like the one we just did. And I want you to have an example of something that's, you know, that you're going to see. So what is that? Okay, let's change example 2 to be this problem. 6x squared minus x minus 2 equals 0. Okay, we're just changing the problem just so we get practice with a different kind of question. Okay? Okay, so we want to make sure that we are set equal to 0. And this one I'm giving you already equal to 0, okay? Right? So we're going to skip that. Then we're going to factor our trinomial. All right, so first thing we always look for is a GCF. Is there a GCF for all of these? 6, 1, and 2. No, this is 1, right? Like if you use the trick in Desmos to try to find a GCF, if you say GCF of 6, 1, 2, and it tells you the GCF is 1, that's a way of saying there is no GCF. Okay, so no GCF, so we're going to have to factor it with a box. Okay, so your first term goes up here, and your last term goes in the bottom right, and these are the boxes that have X in it. Now we got to figure out what goes in that box. Okay. We have to figure out what A times C is. What is A times C? 6 times negative 2.
-12.
Negative 12. So now I need two numbers that multiply to make negative 12, which add up to our middle number, which is negative 1, right? So factors of negative 12 that add up to negative 1. Anybody know what those are? Well, I'm looking, oh, here's 4 and negative 3. But when you add that together, you get positive 1. I need it to add to negative 1. How about 3 and negative 4? Those are the numbers we want. So I want 3 and negative 4. And it doesn't matter where they go. Okay, now I'm going to look. Top row. I need the GCF of the top row. So always there's an X here, right? We always know that. They have X in common. But 6 and 3, what's the GCF of 6 and 3? What'll divide into 6 and 3? 3, right? Okay, so now I can unlock the rest of it. I can say 3x times what makes 6x squared? Well, 3 times 2 makes 6, and I'll need another x to make x squared. 3x times what makes 3x? That's just 1. What times 2x makes negative 4x? Minus 2. Okay, so these are my factors. My factors are 2x plus 1 and 3x minus 2 equals 0, right? Can't forget that equals 0. Okay, so I've factored it. Now I'm on to this step. Set each factor equal to 0 and solve separately. Okay, so that means I'm going to take that factor, whoops, set it equal to 0. And I'm going to take this factor, 3x minus 2, and set it equal to 0. And then I just have two little equations that I have to solve. Okay? So we factor, then once we're factored, we grab each factor and set it equal to 0. Is everyone okay with where these came from? Everyone okay with why I just made 2 equal zeros? Because that's the zero product property, okay? All right, now we just solve, right? The good old days. So I want to solve for x. I'd have to minus 1 first, right? So 2x equals negative 1. 0 minus 1 is negative 1. And then we divide by 2. So negative 1/2. Okay. And then the other one, we got to add 2. Right? So 3x equals 2. You can't use a shortcut for these ones, right? We actually have to do the work. And then divide by 3. So x is 2/3. Okay, only thing left to do, plot these in a solution set. Negative 1/2 and 2/3. Okay, so the only thing that we're adding on today is the fact that there is another side of the equal sign. And what should be on that other side of the equal sign? What number should be there? 0. Because when it's 0, then we can grab each factor and make it equal 0, and we can solve. Okay, so to summarize, I can, what can we do? What can we do? I want to make sure I get this right. We can, all right. I can make equation equal to 0. Make the equation equal 0. That's the first thing we have to do. Then we have to factor. And then we need to make the factors equal 0. just solve. And we put our answers in these little solution sets. Okay? That's it. That's all we're going to be doing. Okay. What questions can I answer for you? Okay. So you've got some tape. Go ahead, tape this in your notebook. I'm going to do a little bit, because this amplify activity, it's a little bit picky about how you type in your answers. So I'm going to start it with you to make sure we all know how to type it, or else you're just going to get frustrated on something that's not worth getting frustrated over. Okay?